book nerds. We are back with another live session, and we are super excited for this one because we'll be talking about with an author, of course, who is quite a maverick, I would say, because she has written a book about the legal aspects, which we all kind of are not comfortable with, but she has written a book about it because she is connected to the field of law. By the way, I'll show you the book first. It's called Yours Legally, and it's a collection of short stories, and there's a Hindi translation as well. So it's called Aapki Siya LLb. I was reading this book like for the past it is a short read. I mean, it will take you around say 2 to 3 hours. So it's a great weekend read for people who don't get time to read a lot. So that ways it is a wonderful kind of something that you can pick up easily.
Hi.
Hi Sonia, how are you? First of all, welcome on this Instagram live. It has been a while. We have not gone live on Instagram, and we are super excited because of that. And okay, first of all, for those who are watching, I would like to tell them that Sonia is no mean author. She's not just an author. She is a law graduate from DU, and of course, right now she is working as assistant manager law with a PSU, if I'm not wrong, which comes under Ministry of Petroleum in Chandigarh. Yeah.
And now I'm in Delhi. Now
you're back to Delhi. You are moving around too much. Anyway, so of course, there's another book that she has written, which is called Baby on Board, and it's quite a departure from this one, I must say, because this talks about things that we are not really comfortable with, right? A lot of Indians are not comfortable with things, the legal matters, and of course, everything connected to it. We are not very comfortable. We are not that kind of breed. I suppose it is normal. Maybe it's the same around the globe, but thank you so much for being here with us. And thank you for writing this one. I was talking to the author yesterday, and I was telling her that this is a great niche that she has, kind of exploring. So first of all, I would like to ask you, how is the response to both the books? I mean, English and Hindi, and what are the kind of reviews that are coming in for you, that have been coming? I mean, the English version has been there for a while, of course. I'm not aware about the Hindi version. So tell us a little bit about the kind of responses you get from readers.
Yeah, see, so welcome everybody, and I really want to thank book nerds and Neha and Rohan for this concept of having live sessions. And we are sitting at our homes. They are in Dehradun, I'm in Delhi, and still we are able to connect to so many people. So I think technology is doing wonders for us. And now, coming back to Yours Legally and Aapki Siya LLb. So yes, Yours Legally, my debut book, was published in 2019. So it's been around almost 2 years now. And Aapki Siya LLb was my brainchild during the COVID time. So, you can say COVID ke side effects or COVID ke positive effects. Something positive also came up during COVID because a lot of people were getting back to the habit of reading. They were at home, fortunately or unfortunately. So they were getting time to get back to the habits they could not pursue while they were outside their homes. And I also felt that we also have a lot of Hindi audience in our country still, and Hindi writing and Hindi reading needs a little bit of a push. And I did not want to write a very heavy novel, so I felt that because it revolves around courtroom dramas and prison stories, so there would be a lot of people who don't want to read in English but would actually want to read those stories in Hindi. So the response has been actually great. Even if I don't talk about the number of books, but even till today, I don't know, I think even filmmakers or other artists also feel the same. Every review impacts you. It's not that now if I have around 100 or 200 reviews, so I become complacent or I feel that they're going to say the same old story or the same old good or bad things about the book. It's not like that. The response has been really great in the sense that the kind of chord I wanted to touch with my readers, they were actually able to get it. And that is very important for an author. Like I think you have also read the book yourself, and day before yesterday and yesterday we were just discussing. So I think the biggest achievement for an author is or a writer is not award. Awards are secondary, but the fact that what you want to express through the medium of your writing, the reader is actually able to grasp it. A, B, it inspires or motivates them a bit in some way. C, the character stays with them for some time. And fourth, very important, that they finish the book and they want to know more about you or they want to read more of you. So, I think all these four elements I feel are very important and critical for me to evaluate myself as a writer. Like I always say that I'm in my own league in my own way. So the response to both the books has been equally good. Of course, Aapki Siya LLb came later and it was released last year. But I am trying to promote both the books equally. And I think in the smaller cities and in a lot of places, Aapki Siya LLb will do well, especially in the law colleges or in the courts. Or I think, and the best part is that non-legal people have related to the book well. It is not really meant for only the people from the legal fraternity, like you or anybody else. So when somebody from another field appreciates your content, which is from the legal field, and they are really amazed at the fact that, okay, this can also be an angle or perspective to law. So it feels good.
Great. I mean, I was reading the book, and first of all, I was telling everyone as well that it is a very short read, especially for quick readers. So that's a good thing because it's over the weekend, you can just pick it up and finish it in like 2 to 3 hours max tops. I mean, that would be. I wanted to show the cover again. It's quite interesting. I don't know who has designed it. But
my husband is the cover, so I give credit to my husband. In fact, that time he was my husband was in Goa on an official tour that time, and I was in Chandigarh, and we were just finalizing the cover. So he wanted this bow thing that legally should come in this way, and we wanted to keep it very simple and simple. Also, on page 21, you have written that these short stories revolve around the case, the court, the counsel, the complainant, the confinement, and the criminal. So these are the themes that you have explored within this, legal sort of landscape. Quite interesting, and it was quite amazing that we could have a look at through Sia, we could have a look at these intricacies of the legal, I mean the courts and everything that I mentioned right now. Why this idea of kind of breaking it up and kind of just because they were short stories, or there was another thought behind it? See, as I said that, like, you have read the preface of the book, and a lot of people who have read the preface of the book know that this book was actually written way back in 2012 when I finished my law. I completed my law in 2010, and then I was working in another PSU in Delhi only. So a lot of the stories are actually, they happened in Delhi. So in my hometown has a lot to do with my release of my debut book. But at that point of time also, these 6 stories were just some incidents which happened with me, which I experienced during my training or my internships or my job, and I started penning them down. The maxims and the elements have come later because at that point of time, I had 5 stories in my mind. The kid on the last bench was not there, and the title was actually Legally Yours. And I had sent it to a lot of publishers, but I did not find any response. And then it kept in my desktop for a long time until 2018, when I got a call from a publisher that they want to release my book. So now, from 6 years then, you have grown, the legal field has grown, your experiences have changed. So I started reworking the stories. I added the 6th story as well because my aim was from the beginning to have a short story book. I did not want to have a novel because, as I said, I wanted readers to find them interesting and I wanted them to finish the story. Right. Now, while I was completing each story, somehow, it all came down to be that there is something which is coming out in every story. Like in the first story, the complainant, the lady, is the prime element. In the second, the court, because the judge gives a decision that he has observed that this kid is being brought into the court. Or in the fourth story, the counsel, the visually impaired advocate, who is actually the main protagonist in the story. So every story has a character besides Sia, who is the supporting or the main character who wants to give you a message. And then I searched the legal maxims, and there was something which could fit in every element. So when I was designing the entire layout of the book, I actually realized that because we have studied law and I've been practicing law and I've been working in a PSU and we, come across so many cases that these are actually the six important elements which make up law. Of course, there are a lot of sub elements, but if
Yeah.
you want to make a flow chart or a framework, every story somehow fits into one character. So I think
Right.
it is just amazing, a coincidence you can say, or something strategic I did.
Right.
And I think
Yes.
that people have found that interesting as well because in a lot of reviews, people have appreciated the counsel, the complainant, the criminal, and the legal maxim and the meaning behind it. That every story has a message.
It was quite interesting that these were short stories, and I loved it because of the same reason. Also, uh, in one of the stories, like you mentioned, the one with the kid, is there scope of emotion in the courtroom? It is just a very common, it's a cliche question, but is there any scope? Because you have shown that side.
Yes,
Sia
yes,
is very vulnerable, and
yes.
tell us a bit about that.
Yes, see, I think all of us are vulnerable and we feel that, obviously, not to comment on the current legal situation in our country when we are seeing a lot of happening on TV as well these days. Actually, that is my point of coming off, bringing this book across because we have this assumption that lawyers are very rigid and they are very arrogant and they are very, selfish and they don't have emotions. We feel that the judges don't have emotions because they are passing judgments and they are convicting people and they are, passing such sentences. So that is my point with every story, and especially this story, that everybody is having emotions. And even though in a courtroom, you're supposed to be very straightforward and you're not supposed to express those emotions, but deep inside, it is there. Even the judge who is sitting there, I think if a lot of people have seen Jolly LLB, in the
Yeah,
end, when Saurabh Shukla is passing the verdict, he says
yeah,
one line that केस की शुरुआत में ही जज को पता होता है कि गिल्टी कौन है और गिल्टी कौन नहीं है पर
yeah.
एविडेंस एंड सबूत की वजह से it kept on dragging on and all the judge waits for his evidence. So
Yes.
even the judge is a human, even the lawyer is a human, even the complainant, the accused, sometimes who are wrongly charged, they are also human. So this
Yeah.
is my main aim of publishing this book, to know the humane side of law.
You have mentioned a very interesting thing, which I felt that was quite sensitive also and very relevant. You have mentioned the deterrent and reformist theory, and
Yes.
was very interesting for me because uh, I mean, what are jails and prisons? I mean, we have created them, and I mean, there is a school of thought that people need to come out better, and there
Yeah.
are people like who are scared, like, okay, don't let them out. So it's
Uh,
quite a devil and angel sort of situation. What is your opinion about that? And as a profession, not as a professional, but as an individual, also, what are these theories for people who don't understand them?
Yeah, so see, when we were doing law, actually, we had this subject criminology. I will try to explain in very simple terms because there will be non legal people here also as well. So, criminology used to really interest me. A very simple, people who have followed series like Prison Break, a very simple concept that what is the psyche behind the criminal, or what is the mindset or a mental setup of a person who has actually committed a crime or who has been charged of a crime. What makes them a criminal at the first place? So now when we have these prisons, with the fifth and sixth story, Teddy number 90, and the jail story, because I have actually visited a jail in
Yes.
real life, and those two stories are based on that element. And not just me, I think all of us have those misconceptions about how life in a prison is, and all we have seen are in movies or just read in textbooks. So if you go there, you actually know what is really happening around there. They are clean, they are green. But yes, the theories you're talking about, 70% of the under trials or the people who are in the jails, they don't even know why they are there. I think half of the time they are picked up for some random cases and their cases are going on because they are not aware of the legal remedies or the proceedings, or they cannot afford,
Yeah.
legal support of lawyers. They are just, sometimes their sentence period is also over had they been charged and they are still there as under trials. So it was really, heartening to see that situation when I went and visited a prison.
Yeah.
That is why the introduction of these two stories were the theories. The theories being that For example, when we are having these rape cases in our country, so the government passed a very stringent law that now we are going to, imprison them, and we are going to pass a strong message to the people. That is
Yeah.
a deterrent effect. Deterrent effect meaning that you want to give a strong message so that somebody else does not want to repeat that crime in the future because he will be fearful or he will be scared of the consequences, the fear of law. That is a deterrent effect. That those are theories. The reformist theory is something I think we are still working on, especially in our country. In abroad, maybe they are one level ahead. That our aim is not just to punish the criminal. Fine, he has done a crime, and now he needs to repay and he needs to realize it. But then, if he's in jail for 10 years or 20 years, what after that? He needs to be brought back to the society. So that is the reformist theory, wherein you want to reform the criminal or the person because again he's a human and now he
Yeah.
wants to live a normal life. So that is the reformist theory.
Awesome. And thanks for the Prison Break reference. And there are a lot of pop culture and literary references which make the book more refreshing, because it's kind of, uh, it in this kind of, contemporary writing, it is important for people to kind of associate with pop
Yeah.
culture. And you have done a great job at that. In fact, somebody who hasn't watched Prison Break, you haven't watched anything. So go watch it. What is your opinion on remorse? It's a follow-up question. It's on similar lines, and then of course I want to go into other things. What is your opinion on that? Because it is in one of the stories. You kind of feel that, okay, this guy was just fine in his head. He did a crime and he's not even remorseful. And so what
Yeah.
is your opinion on that? Is it subjective, or what
Yes,
happens
like
there?
for example, like when I personally met those guys who were college students, and they had, and in fact that scary number 90 which I'm referring about, that he stabbed the person who teased his sister, and he was
Yeah.
not remorseful. So I think that is a mindset, and it is subjective because the idea to bring them into prison is to actually make them realize that they have made a mistake. But actually, it takes a long time for somebody. That person may realize it faster and he may be remorseful, but we know that a lot of hardened criminals are actually not even guilty of what they have done. They feel justified that what they have done is the right thing. So there are societies upbringing and the thought values come into picture that maybe they have been brought up in such an environment that they are not even guilty. They are not even remorseful of if they have killed someone or if they have taken some revenge. So I think it will take a long time for us to actually make such hardened criminals realize that what they have done, and that's what I'm saying, that their upbringing and their background plays a major role in what the crime they committed. That crime is a heat of passion which happened in a momentary, in a minute or a 10-minute thing. But these circumstances go way back. So whenever we are trying to understand a criminal, we have to see his history and his past as well to know whether he is remorseful or not.
Also, your second book, Baby on Board, was a huge departure. I mean, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
I don't have a physical copy right now because
I
it
have.
is from somebody
Yeah,
else. Let's
yeah,
show them. Yeah.
yeah.
So let's
So if
show
I
the
open
book.
the door, my child will come in. So
No worries.
that's
No worries.
one thing
No
which
worries.
I'll just
Okay.
put it on the
So yeah,
phone. Yeah.
Baby on Board. It's available on
Yeah.
Amazon as well, along with
Yeah.
these books, as well as the Hindi version. So why Baby on Board? Because this niche, I mean, of course you are in the same profession. Some writers kind of explore writing to find perhaps a getaway and kind of write fiction because they want to kind of perhaps relax, but you are writing in the same genre. So
Yeah,
what
yeah.
about
I'm not
Baby on
relaxing when I'm writing. I'm more stressed when I'm writing
Board?
because I'm writing realistic things. So I need to be
Yeah, but
careful what I'm writing. Yeah, what
but
I'm not
I feel
writing.
that if you have know-how of a profession, it is easier to kind of, add those, finer details. It becomes easier, because if I go and write a book about legal aspects, I will, make all sorts of, mistakes. So tell us a bit about Baby on Board, and then we'll go ahead.
Yeah, so Baby on Board actually, like you're saying that yours legally was a bit planned book, that yes, I wanted to write yours legally, but Motherhood is something which happens in your life eventually, and like I had said, that for someone who was really scared and wary of entering this phase, and I took a long time in deciding, okay, now want to have a child, and or everybody kept on asking me, what's the issue, why you don't want to have? Society starts judging you. They come to
Yes.
conclusion that oh, koi problem to nahi hai. The typical
Yes. Yes.
question
Yes.
which everybody is asked, and there is no problem whatsoever. The couple is just not ready, or they want more time to take this plunge. So baby on board was a result of all those fears and misconceptions, because I was so fearful of pregnancy that when it actually happened, the process was so good and I enjoyed this phase so much, and I involved my husband in the journey, that I wanted to actually write a book which the couple can relate to, because I wanted people again to make the transition from motherhood to parenthood, and I wanted the men to also be a part of this process and not get sidelined. It should not just be that the wife or the lady is only experiencing the process. And I wanted the females to come out and be open and expressive of their thoughts and fears. And I wanted
Right.
them to know that it is all normal. It's just a normal phase, and you get back to your life again. And see, like all my books have got published after the birth of my son. So I think
Yeah.
I always say that he's my lucky charm. So Baby on Board was a very bold risk. It was a decision because it was again completely my own story. Yours legally is still a bit fictional, but with Baby on Board, I was completely honest and really out there, straightforward with my thought process. You have not read the book, but I would want you to have a look at it.
Yeah.
And again, the response has been really great, because the so many men and so many unmarried men gave reviews for the book. So it was really amazing. Again, that it struck a chord with the readers the way I wanted, and females got inspired. And I think I'm really happy. I don't want to be in a single genre. So I'm happy that I explored two genres which were really unexplored. And I
Right.
was able to inspire people, and I was able to write a book on a topic which people are not touching in our country. So
Right.
Baby on Board was also a deliberate attempt at writing a book on pregnancy, but very unplanned. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So, anybody who wants to ask a question to the author can leave it in the comments, and we would be
Yeah,
happy to
sure.
take a question. Also, since there is a Hindi translation as well, it's very interesting because once you have written the book, it's already there, and yes, the cover is again different and quite appealing. Whoever is behind the cover has done a great job. So
Yeah, the cover is now, for this one, the credit is to my friend Nitin, because he has worked a lot with me for this cover. So the credit I want to give to him.
it is
Yeah.
very nice. It is very nice, and it conveys the message very clearly. Also, because of the translation thing, I mean, there are sometimes the gist of the book, maybe the message you want to deliver gets kind of muffled sometimes.
Hmm.
But in this case, since I have not read the Hindi version, is there any feedback like that it is looking kind of a translation? It is very easy to kind of look like a translation. Has that
No,
happened?
but it's actually not a translation, because what happens is that there was this person, Rajneesh, in Chandigarh, with whom I collaborated for the translation. But what
Okay.
happens is that when you totally translate, a lot of people do it on Google as well, but I gave it to a professional person to translate. But when you
Yeah.
start reading, like you're saying, the passive and the active voice changes. So because I'm working in a PSU, so I am a bit familiar with the Hindi typing software. I cannot type in Hindi, but yes, we know the
Right.
Unicode software wherein if I type in English, the Hindi word comes. So I do a lot of work in Hindi also in my corporation. So I took it upon myself to actually edit this book. And while editing the content, a lot of the stuff has actually been rewritten. Because, in English, we think and write differently. The same thing, the story is the same, but while I was working on the Hindi book, the sentences became different, the expression became different, and I'm actually happier with my Hindi version as compared to the English version, because
Wonderful.
we are Indians. We still think in Hindi, but we speak in English because of our
Yes.
obligations. So
Yes.
actually, if you match the sentences, none of the sentences are exactly the same. Everything has changed, but the crux remains the same. And I think I've done a better job with the Hindi one. Whatever loopholes or whatever small errors were there in the English one, I've tried to cover. And I think the message goes across strongly in the Hindi one.
It's incredible, because the kind of author that you are right now, delving, dabbling with English and Hindi, it's such
Yeah.
a way forward. I feel that that is the way forward for Indian authors. I don't know. I may be wrong, but I just feel that like you said, there's so many people who want to read in Hindi, and
Yeah,
why not? Why not?
yeah.
It is amazing, and it's not easy to write. First of all, so kudos. And
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's very tough because, in Hindi, typing and editing the matra, ki, ka,
yes,
and it takes a
yes.
lot of time to edit.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So
True
what is
body.
your opinion on the contemporary Hindi? Do you kind of have you had an opportunity of reading contemporary Hindi? They call it Nai Hindi, and
Mm.
it's so. Do you get that kind of opportunity to kind of evolve, or perhaps with contemporary fiction as well in English? Do you get time for that? Because you are in a tough profession. That's why I asked.
Yeah, so you see, I always say that reading is also very important for everybody, and especially for authors if they want to become better writers. Because I want to expand my horizons and I want to know how others are writing, and I want to read. I love to read. That's the main thing because reading is my childhood love along with writing. So, yes, of course, with the job and kid and home and my own writing, I am not getting so much of time, but I do have a Kindle, though I still prefer paperback books. I do get
Yeah.
time to read sometimes, and recently I've been following a lot of Awais Khan. He's a London-based Pakistani author who's in the company of strangers and no honor. I am loving his work. He's a very young author. I really love L.V. Kasi, who's writing really different romance, thriller, fiction. So I do read, and Hindi books I'm not able to read much. I'm not picking so much, but whenever I get an opportunity in my office, there are a lot of Hindi work to do, a lot of articles. So I do write in Hindi there in order to improvise on my Hindi writing. And I do read books. And I read all genres. I read biographies, I read motivational books, I read fiction. So I do not confine myself to a single kind of reading because that is how I have been. So I cannot leave reading. Neither I can leave writing, but I cannot leave reading also. Even 10
And
minutes a day makes my day.
and neither can Sia. Sia has been seen in courtrooms, outside
Yeah.
courtrooms, reading in a corner. So
Yes.
that is, I mean, the book is of course kind of autobiographical. So that reference was
Yeah.
there. So I mean, have you met a lot of lawyers who read fiction? Do you meet them often? Because this is new territory for me.
Yeah, because I think lawyers are so busy reading, we are so busy reading our case laws and case books. And my own friends, my own husband, because those who have done professional degrees, a lot of people actually don't have the habit of reading because they will read news on phone or they will maximum pick a newspaper. But that is what, they will watch something on Netflix. But to make somebody read, forget this book. This is still a short book. So how you can imagine they're going to read a 400-page book. So that is why I'm writing short books to make such people also read who are not in the habit of reading and they don't want a lot of technical heavy jargon. They don't want very hi-fi English. So that's why I'm deliberately avoiding usage of such words. I'm trying to write simple language. And as I said, my book is also available as an audio book. So those who completely hate reading can actually listen to my book, on the go, and they can just listen to it while driving or while they are
Which
sitting doing
platform?
something.
Which platform
It's
is it
there
on?
on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast. It's everywhere. It has been
Awesome.
released by the Truma. So Yours Legally is there as an audiobook as well. So there are a lot of ways you can reach your, I think, readers and listeners these days.
Right. The world that you have explored is so interesting. I was telling you this before also yesterday that it is so interesting for me. I mean, of course, you have held yourself back with the language because you don't want to scare people off. I know that with the vocabulary as well. It was a very deliberate attempt, I must say, and you were successful at that. And I applaud it. Also with Hindi, I haven't read it, but I suppose that you have kind of written in that style of Nai Hindi and contemporary stuff. Aditya is asking, he's asking about the inspiration for Yours Legally, but I would say that
inspired you to write both Yours Legally and Baby or Both. So see, because there are no books exploring these two genres, so that was my biggest inspiration to write these two books. And my own favorite authors have been for like John Grisham and Kushwant Singh. Kushwant Singh for his blunt way of writing, and Khalid Hosseini, and a lot of authors I've been reading, Jhumpa Lahiri, Anuja Chauhan. So these people's works I've been reading since, young Dan Brown. So I think those writers really inspired me. Chetan Bhagat as an author and as a person really inspired me because I think with an author being a household name is very difficult. There is a very limited niche of people who are into reading and who know authors, film stars, sports persons. But Chetan Bhagat brought back reading to doorstep of every college student and the youth. And I think he has been a very big inspiration for me to to how to strategize your book, that how you can reach across to so many readers. I think there are very few people who do not know Chetan Bhagat. So
Right.
to reach that level will take a long time. Not everybody can be like that. A lot of people criticize his books, but I think where he has reached, nobody else in Indian writing has reached at that level yet.
I feel that the kind of niche you have and the kind of you are delving into Hindi and English, it is exciting times ahead, and I am really looking forward to what's coming from you, especially on perhaps sequels from yours legally, and of course the Hindi one, which we would also love to kind of showcase on the Book Nerds Hindi, which we started recently on Hindi Divas. And
Okay.
It has been awesome, speaking to you. The book was a breeze for me. It's a breeze, but it makes you think a lot. So guys, if you want to pick it up, go to Amazon. Also, after reading it, leave a review. Also, tell us, and of course, tell the author on social media that what else did you want from the book. It's always interesting because there may be sequel coming up or something like that.
What do you want me to write on? Yes, definitely.
Yes, that would be very interesting. And a final word before I forget. You said that you have been to prisons. Tell us, was there a point where you were scared? And it is, of course, in the book. I don't want to give spoilers. But were you scared at all at any point of time, and that you might not have mentioned in the book? Is there something like that?
Yes, I was scared when it became dark. I was scared when they showed us the area where when the solitary confinement, the convicts are put there after they're having some tussle or a fight. So when I entered that area, it was a bit scary. I became scared when I went with a group of my college friends, and two females went inside to meet some under trials, and the sun was setting, and I had no clue where they are. So of course the prison is a scary place, but not so scary as we think it to be. But yes, I was scared the moment I stepped in. It took me some time to actually realize that okay, this place is open, and luckily there was some event going on, so it was all lively and bubbly. But otherwise, yes, it scared me at a lot of places. And that's
Wow.
there.
Wow. So this can only be experienced, and of course they won't let you kind of vlog it, of course, not in prison. So we won't get perhaps it is the narrative that that is there. It gets into our head before we actually experience something in a place like that. Thank you so much, Sonia. It is an awesome fast read for a weekend. I would recommend all professionals, especially out there, to kind of pick it up and go to Amazon, click that, add it to cart. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, and you can follow me on Insta as well, Sonia Sahijwani. And thank you, Book Nerds, for having me on their show. And looking forward to having more sessions with you people.
Yeah,
thank you, guys.
Finally look at the book covers, and so that it's easier for you to kind of pick it up. It's
yours legally, Aapki Siya LLb.
And Sonia has made it affordable, so you can just
yes, 149.
Yes, so thank you so much, Sonia. Great time.